Who was Pappy Van Winkle? Today we'll find out on the Bourbon Legends History Lesson. Julian P. Pappy Van Winkle Sr. was born in Danville, Kentucky in 1874, into a time when bourbon was already deeply woven into the cultural fabric of the bluegrass state. But no one could have predicted what this young man would grow into, and one of the most enduring names in American whiskey. At the age of 18, Pappy got his start in the whiskey trade as a traveling salesman for W.L. Weller & Sons, a wholesaler that was already well respected for selling whiskey made from wheat instead of rye, a choice that gave their bourbon a softer, sweeter profile. Pappy hit the road with a sample case, selling to pharmacies and general stores, charming buyers with both charisma and quality. Over time, his role expanded, and so did his ambitions. In 1910, Van Winkle and a business partner, Alex Farnsley, bought controlling interest in the Stitzel distillery, which had been producing whiskey since the 1870s. After weathering the storm of Prohibition, which began in 1920, the distillery was one of the lucky few to secure a medicinal whiskey license, allowing it to legally continue operations during the dry years. When Prohibition ended in 1933, Van Winkle merged W.L. Weller and the Stitzel distillery into a new venture. The Stitzel Weller Distillery opened on Kentucky Derby Day, May 4, 1935, in Shively, Kentucky, a small town just outside of Louisville. From this location, Pappy oversaw the production of bourbons that would become legendary. Old Fitzgerald, W.L. Weller, Rebel Yell, and Cabin Still, all made with his signature wheated mash bill. Pappy was no ordinary executive. He had a hands-on approach to whiskey making and a deep respect for tradition. He famously said, "We make fine bourbon at a profit if we can, and at a loss if we must, but always fine bourbon." That stubborn commitment to quality became the bedrock of his legacy. Even into his 80s and 90s, Pappy could be found at the distillery, often pictured with a cigar in his mouth and a stern but proud look. He passed away in 1965 at the age of 95, leaving behind a thriving business and an unmatched standard of excellence. After his death, things began to change. In 1972, the Stitzel Weller Distillery was sold to Norton Simon, and many believed Pappy's legacy would fade. But his grandson, Julian Van Winkle III, wasn't about to let that happen. In the 1990s, he revived the family name with a new label, Pappy Van Winkle's Family Reserve, using remaining stocks from the Stitzel Weller Distillery, also continuing that wheated tradition. What followed was huge. With age statements like 15, 20, and 23 years, the Pappy Van Winkle bourbons became legendary for their smoothness, depth, and rarity. Allocated in tiny batches and highly sought after, Pappy's became the bourbon world's most coveted prize. Today, the Van Winkle legacy is a multi-generational story of craftsmanship, perseverance, and pride. Though the original distillery is long gone, the values Pappy instilled, patience, tradition, and quality above all else, remain the guiding lights behind one of the most revered names in whiskey. And that, my friends, is what makes you a bourbon legend.